Hello, and welcome back to our interview with the speaker series for the United Astrology Conference 2026. I'm Melissa, and today we are joined by astrologer Catherine Urban. Catherine, can you please introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Catherine Urban. I'm an astrologer with over 16 years of astrological immersion practice and study. Um, I'm certified by both NCGR and ISAR, and I first got into astrology, as a kid, but my studies really deepened when I moved to New York City. Around 2009 was when I just like started meeting astrologers in New York and realizing that this could be more than just something I read about and do on the side for friends. It could be my entire life. And that was a big realization for me. And so I've been in that obsessive phase ever since. And
Hmm.
my practice has gone through a lot of different changes over the years. But that's what I continue to find so alluring about astrology is that you're never done learning. And how thrilling is that?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Was there something specific that shifted that? Was there like a book, or was there just like a line? Like, can you pinpoint it, or?
So I wanted to start like deepening my understanding of transits. I heard about progressions, so I was looking for books on progressions, but I really couldn't find anything. So doing a quick little Google search for like astrology teachers, I was looking for a class and I found Joseph Adeo in New York, and he was my first teacher. And I took a course on progressions with him. And so then that opened me up to the whole NCGR community. And soon after, I began studying with John Marcusella, Shirley Sofer, and I met Anne Ortley at a conference, and I started tuning into her shows. So I'm like a honorary student of hers. I didn't formally study with her, but I just, you know, she was a big inspiration for me. I just looked up to her and saw that she was seeing clients and doing radio shows and teaching. And I was just like, oh my God, like if that's not the dream.
Hmm. I love that. So, how did that then progress into how you've gotten to where you are now?
Yeah, so I was kind of on the modern, what we would call modern astrology track for a while, because that was all I was exposed to for many years. And then um, certainly like traditional astrology began to become more and more mainstream. Like people could get into astrology starting with traditional astrology. And I think Chris Brennan made traditional astrology so accessible for people with his podcast, the Astrology Podcast. And so I, of course, started listening to Chris's podcast like very, very early on, like when the episodes were like very inconsistent. Like, where's Chris? I don't know. It's been a year. Um, but he started putting out more and more traditional material, and there just became this huge momentum around it. And I started getting into it. And at first I was like, wait, like, why do I need to know planetary sect? Like, what's this about? This doesn't seem that useful. But then when you start understanding essential dignity, like that really made a lot of things in my brain click for me was the essential dignity, learning about angularity and just learning to look at the chart completely different. And so that was like a huge catalyst moment for me and opened up a whole other portal of things I could study and learn about rooted in our tradition.
Hmm.
And then that, of course, led me into medieval astrology, which is where a lot of my interest currently lies.
Awesome. Awesome. How do you balance that then? Like, do you still incorporate some level of modern, some level of like Hellenistic? Like, how are you balancing all of this?
I would say that my practice really looks very traditional. I only use traditional rulerships and things like that. Um, However, I think modern astrology's tendency to be so related in the psychological and related in the human experience, that is the part that I take with me, is the ability to learn how to forecast for actual human being. You know, there's certain things in the traditional text that just, if you're trying to forecast in the way that they were, thousands of years ago, it may not be that useful. Like, for example, Valens goes into, there's like something like the anthology, I would say about like half of it is on the length of life technique. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just, that's not going to be helpful nowadays. I don't need to know this information about myself. I don't know. I think a certain type of person would want to look that up for themselves. But for the most part, I just think that um, having gotten started in a more like psychological rooted place of practicing astrology helped me be better prepared, I feel, in working with
Mm-hmm.
other people and listening to them, really listening to what your client wants to discuss, basically,
Yeah.
and what they want to bring to the session, what they want to get out of the session.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What does it look like then being in like a consultation with you?
Yeah. So currently, my practice is very much centered around the solar return. So I look at solar returns through the medieval lens, and the medieval approach to the solar return is, well, to be honest, it's not even, I mean, medieval astrologers were the ones who kind of really developed the solar return, but it goes back to Dorotheus. Dorotheus is writing about solar returns. Um, but anyhow, I focus a lot on, I guess, the traditional medieval approach to the solar return, which there's a whole different way of looking at it. And I do this to get, I am able to get a lot of information about a person's year ahead by looking at the solar return chart, layering that with transits, breaking it down into monthly profections, which is actually what I'm going to be talking about at UAC this year. Um, so that's really my biggest approach. I also bring in other techniques as well. I bring in secondary progressions. I will occasionally bring in zodiacal releasing. Uh, but yeah, I mean, usually I like to see what's on my client's mind. Like what's going on in your world? What do you want to discuss today? And some people just want to be read. Like some people are like, I just want to see what you say before I say anything. But I always tell people, okay, I'm going to start talking about some themes I see for the year ahead. But if anything is pinging for you, please don't hesitate to let me know because the more context I have, the more helpful I can be. So I always want to center the things that I'm seeing in my forecast in what is happening in your world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. Can I also ask, how do you approach when people come to you and they're like, just read me? Like, it's meant to be a conversation, but how do you deal with that, for lack of a better word?
Yeah. So it kind of just depends on the person a little bit because I think what I would do is say, okay, well, we're getting to know each other. Why don't we just look at your natal chart a little bit? And usually, once you say something that really resonates with them, is when they open up. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people may have a little bit of inhibition about opening up. And also, I think people are looking for that oracular experience of, I'm here because I want you to help me make sense of my life. And if I tell you things, I think people feel like they really are just there to receive. And that's fine. I've done plenty of sessions like that with people, but I think people tend to get more out of it when it's a dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I kind of like how you frame that as people having a harder time opening up rather than I think sometimes the assumption is that they're trying to see it as a parlor trick or they're trying to like get us to, like stomp us or whatever, like,
Yeah.
but the reality is more than likely they're just nervous.
Yeah. And they took the time to seek you out,
Mhm.
resonate with you enough to book the appointment. Like people really aren't there to test you that much. Like some of these older texts, they talk about horary and um, how people used to test the astrologers, but that would be like the caliph or the king or the leader wanting to test the astrologer to see if can I rely on you?
Yeah.
Like they would do a question like, what am I holding behind my back? I think it was Al-Kindi, if I'm not mistaken, was tested to see like what someone was holding behind their back. There's some really cool stories out there um, that I can't properly cite right now, but I have them bookmarked. Um, but nowadays, the place where I would encounter that would be like at a party. So sometimes,
Yeah.
like for example, I'll do like bachelorette parties,
Oh,
and
fun.
yeah, and this one bride, like her, it wasn't her first marriage, but like the her husband to be was there, and she's like, "You need to get a reading." And so he was like, "I don't know, I don't really want to." It's always the husband who doesn't want to get his chart read, but yeah, she was like, "You have to." And then I ended up nailing some things, and he's like, "Whoa." And then people open up to you.
Hmm.
But I think it's about gaining that trust.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that your talk for UAC is related to monthly perfections, progressions?
Yeah, perfections.
Perfections. Okay, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so basically we have annual time lords, annual perfections. Most people are pretty familiar with those, where the ascendant advances one sign per year on the solar return. But then a lot of people are interested in monthly perfections, but there's just not a ton of information out there. Valens alludes to them, but doesn't give a lot of explanation for how you do it. So I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks for how to approach this and some things to keep in mind for breaking down the months ahead.
Nice, nice. So I know with perfections, you get an annual Time Lord as kind of like a theme, if we want to call it that. How would you say that monthly or like those smaller breakdowns work?
So your annual Time Lord is still going to be your Time Lord.
Yeah.
But breaking down the monthly perfections allows you to see which life topics, in other words, which house topics are going to be the most dominant and sort of like a level two. Like if you think about zodiacal releasing and you have
Mhm.
like the level one periods and then the level two, like we could think about it kind of in that respect where the annual Time Lord is still the most important planet that you want to be looking at. But the monthly perfections, breaking it down, it's not that you get a different monthly Lord in a way. I mean, you could look at it like that, but it's you don't approach it the same way. So I'm going to be explaining that. is
Awesome, awesome.
basically
Yeah.
is basically what it's going to be about. Is how to think about monthly returns and how to well, there are monthly returns, but monthly perfections and how to integrate them in your practice in a way that's useful
Mhm.
for you and not overwhelming for your clients.
Awesome. So have you been to UAC in the past?
No, I haven't. I'm so excited. This is my first time.
Nice, nice. Can you tell us a little bit then about your past conference experience?
Yeah, I've been to NCGR conferences. I've been to ISAR conferences. I was just out at Norwalk. That was my first time going out there. It was really awesome. Um, yeah, I've typically kind of gravitated more toward the smaller conferences. I've gone to conferences at Lilydale, New York, and I'm in the Great Lakes area. So there's been lots of smaller conferences out this way. Um, so haven't made it out to UAC yet. It's huge. I feel like I'm ready for it now. I feel like the last UAC, I was like, oh, I don't know. I think I'm gonna just stay local. But I think I'm ready for a week of astrology.
Yeah, we've got about a year to prepare, so that might just be just enough time.
Right.
All right. So what are then, I guess, some of your hopes for the conference next year?
Yeah, I'm just so stoked to share space with astrologers, no matter how big or small the group is. I think it's just so special and so magical to have people who you can share this language with. And I guess my hope is, and I know this will happen, is just to connect with other astrologers. it's just the best. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, absolutely. With, over 1,500 astrologers coming together, it's going to be kind of impossible not
Odds
to.
are,
Yeah.
odds are.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Catherine. Can you tell viewers where they can find more about you?
Thanks so much, Melissa. Yeah, you can find me at catherineurban.com. That's my website where you can book sessions, book mentoring sessions. Sometimes I write, put my writings up there. And also I'm on social platforms at Astro Catherine. I post a lot on Instagram. I post a lot on YouTube and sometimes on Threads and Blue Sky.
Awesome. Thank you. I will pop all of those down below in the description. But otherwise, if you're looking for more information on the conference, you can head over to uacastrology.com, which I will also put down below. But thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. You can find new episodes on our channel every Monday and Wednesday, continuing through to the United Astrology Conference in 2026. We also invite you to attend UAC 2026, taking place in Chicago, Illinois from September 3rd to the 9th. As the largest astrological conference in the world, UAC offers an unparalleled opportunity to deepen your astrological studies and connect with a global community. With over 270 lectures, more than 180 esteemed speakers, and 1,500 attendees, this gathering is a cornerstone event for both seasoned professionals and dedicated students of astrology. For details on registration, scholarships, volunteer opportunities, or advertising, please visit uacastrology.com or refer to the links in the description box below.